HBase architecture. So HBase is basically having a master worker architecture. So let's say we have this master and these are workers here in HBase. So these are worker machines. So I'm just drawing it bigger because I can show more things here. So that's why I will make it even bigger like this. But all are having similar capability for the time being. Just understand like this. Okay, so we have zookeeper. So this is, let's say, zookeeper here. So this zookeeper, if you see, like this has certain roles to play, and I will be explaining what all roles it will play. Zookeeper cluster having multiple nodes. Similarly, we have HBase HMaster. And when we say HMaster, so there are multiple types of HMaster. So I can just simply draw like this. So this is one HMaster, this is another HMaster, this is another HMaster. So we have these passive HMasters, but this one is one active HMaster. I will explain what is the meaning of this. So when we talk about HBase architecture, so let's say we have this client machine. This client machine is basically interacting with the HBase cluster, and in the HBase cluster we will be looking at different things like how does it store data, how does it retrieve data. But before we go there, let me first complete the workers. So these are workers, and you know, like HDFS is also running along with HBase, because if you remember, this HBase runs on top of HDFS. So that's how we started this discussion. So HDFS worker daemon is data node. So data node is running here. This is HDFS data node, and along with that there is another worker daemon of HBase, which is a worker daemon, which is called region server. So this is called region server, and it is running on all the machines. So this is RS, this is region server. And if you see, like this region server data node, they are co-located, they are running on the same machine. Now zookeeper cluster is basically having certain responsibilities, and in general I am just writing one specific role of zookeeper, but there are many other roles of zookeeper. So when we start at this cluster, first of all we will always start zookeeper. So zookeeper, once it is started, we will start master, HBase master. So when we start HBase master, so these three HBase master will try to get the role of active HBase master. So all three will compete with each other and try to get the role of active HBase master. So it will go to zookeeper and try to create a directory in zookeeper. So whichever HMaster will succeed in creating a directory in zookeeper will get this role HBase master. So there will be only one HBase master active, right? Others two will be passive, right? So 3 I have shown, but it can be more also, but 3 usually are fine for the production systems. So you will find that only one HMaster will be active and other 2 will be inactive. So here we have other like name node also, which is related to HDFS master. I am not showing it here because the objective is to focus on HBase rather than HDFS. So the one role of zookeeper is to do this kind of distributed coordination and assigning which one is the HBase master. So that is one role, distributed coordination. So I'm just writing distributed coordination or synchronization. You will find distributed coordination. Zookeeper also stores shared data. For example, location of HBase master or HBase meta table, HBase meta table. So it stores location of HBase meta table. If you remember, I was saying HBase metadata is also stored on the HBase cluster. So that's why this zookeeper stores the location of the HBase meta table. Now HMaster has certain roles to play, and these things are related to performing DDL. So when you want to create a table, when you start a HBase shell and you want to create a table, so HMaster will be responsible for doing it. It is also for many other things like recovery of failed worker daemons, failed region servers, RS, this region server. This is for recovery of failed region server. If there is any issue, then HMaster is also responsible for that. load balancing of region server. So like that, you will find there are many responsibilities of HMaster. Similarly, there are many responsibilities of region server, but before we go into the responsibilities of region server, it is important to understand what is a region. So region is basically set of roles. So I am just writing region, definition of region. So region is set of rows between start key and end key, between start key and end key. So whatever rows we will have within that, we call it a region. So you know, HBase table is a big table. It can support big tables. So you have billions of rows. Let's say we have 100 million rows. We are dividing it into multiple regions. So one region can be 1 to 10 million. Another region can be from 10 million to 20 million. Another region can be 20 million to 30 million. So you are having set of rows between start key and end key. So I'm referring to the row key here. So region is like subset of data. So if you partition this table horizontally, the way I just explained, like out of 100 million, you have, let's say, 10 regions, and each region is having 10 million rows, right? So region is actually hosted on this cluster. So let's see, we have regions here. This is region, another region. So you have another region. I'm just showing it bigger because I want to show other things internally, like what it is storing. So this is a region. So this is how it looks like. So there are multiple regions stored here. So there are multiple regions stored here, multiple regions stored here. So this region is for, let's say, table 1, region 2, let's say. Similarly, this may be the region for table 2 in HBase and region 1. So like that, you have different regions for different tables in HBase. It's divide and conquer. So you have large data set. You cannot even store large data in a single machine. So that's why we have this concept of region. So here also we have multiple regions. So I'm just showing it here. This is also another region. So within region, we have multiple column families. So you can say, let's say we have this region, because region is like horizontal partitioning, and column family is like vertical partitioning of the table. So this is like column family 1. Let's say in my table, I have 2 column families. So this is first column family, and then we have another column family, which is second column family. You can say this is my user info, and this is my profile pictures, right? So this is another column family. So these are 2 different column families within one region. So let's say we have 10 million rows in this region, and 10 million rows, we are doing vertical partitioning. Maybe 5 attributes are going in one region, and another 2 attributes going in another region. So this is info, and these are pictures. So let's say we have 7 columns in the table and 10 million rows in this region. So 5 are going here, 2 are going here. So vertically we divided this region into 2 column families. Yeah, so this is basically like a mem store. This is a memory location. So here we call it mem store. So whenever we store any data here, then it goes into memory first. So I'm just writing here, this is mem store. This is also mem store. And this is a location where the data will be stored or buffered. But for the time being, I just want to explain one important thing, like what is the responsibility of region server, and then we will see how this data is flushed into the HDFS, because HDFS is also here. So the data will finally go into HDFS from this mem store. So this is my H files, right? So this is the data in HDFS. HDFS stores H files, and this is version of sequence file or variant of sequence files only. But let's see the important part right now from high level point of view. So region server stores different types of data, and this is basically having multiple responsibilities. So this region server is responsible for hosting regions, mem stores. So there is another component called write ahead log, which is there in each and every machine. So write ahead logs are there, right? WL. So this provides another layer of fault tolerance. So basically reliability when you are storing data in HBase. So first of all, data goes into write ahead logs. So it is also responsible for hosting write ahead logs. It takes care of that. So this is another important functionality. The flushing of data from memory to disk. This is called flushing. So the memory, because we are buffering data in memory to optimize the performance. So this is also responsible for flushing the data from memory to disk. So when you flush data, there are files created in HDFS, and sometimes they are lot in number. So you have to do compaction. So region server is also responsible for combining these small files into larger file, because in HDFS small files are not recommended. If you have small files in HDFS, then you will face a lot of issues. So therefore it is also responsible for compaction. Yeah, so I'm just writing like this, like high level. There are many other details, but since it is a crash course, so I don't want to go into a lot of details about HBase, but understand this thing, like how it is working. So first of all, let's say I'm doing put. So I'm in HBase shell, and in HBase shell, I'm putting data into specific table, and I'm saying in this row key, I want to put some data. So let's say I want to put data for Bhavuk. Let's say my user ID, I want to put data into user table, and the row key ID is Bhavuk. So first of all, how it will work, this is step number one. Step number one is to get location of meta table. This will give you location of meta table. So once you know the meta table location, step number two is to go to the meta table and retrieve the metadata. This is metadata. Now actual metadata is received from the cluster. And then third step is actually, let's say we got it like in the metadata, we got it like where is Bhavuk record stored on the HBase cluster. So let's say this is stored on this particular machine, on this particular region. So we will get this information from the metadata. So now it's actual put command. This is the third step. This is the actual client operation. Now put will be done on that particular region server based on the information that we received from the metadata, and then data will be stored there, and then we will get the response. So very first thing, when we are doing put, it actually goes into the write ahead log, and then it goes into the mem store, and then it goes into the H file or HDFS when flushing happens. So flushing happens regularly, or it can be manually triggered. But the important thing that I want to show you is HBase architecture is having a lot of moving parts. There are many things going on, but since the intention of this discussion is to give you high level overview and how does it look like, so hope this makes sense, like how HBase is working. So it's very important to design schema in a proper way. In HBase, if you don't design schema in proper way, then what will happen, like regions, they store set of rows between start key and end key. So if your key is basically a time series key, then what will happen, let's say this is a scenario row key design. I'm giving you some idea about row key design here only. So in case of row key design, you have timestamp only, let's say, and in the row key, if this is incremental or sequential in nature timestamp, then what will happen, this row key will always go to the same region, because region is basically between start key and end key, and it is in continuation. So all the data, let's say 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock, this is all data going in one region, because region is not yet full, so all data is going in that particular region. So even though you are having 1000 machine powerful HBase cluster, but then also you are just inserting, when you are ingesting data, we are putting data, it is going only on one region, because that region is responsible for the range between 12 p.m. and 1 p.m. So this is a big problem when we are storing data. This particular machine, one single machine will become hotspot, and you have 1000 machine cluster, but you are not making use of that. So that's a big problem when you are storing your data in HBase. Now, how do we overcome this problem? So to overcome this problem, one possible solution is to do salting. Salting is basically a technique in which you can just put a pinch of flavor. Salt is pinch of flavor. You can say I am putting some random salt here, and then whatever timestamp we were having, so we have, let's say, timestamp, and this timestamp is appended with the new row key. This is the new row key. So when you have this new row key, what will happen? This is not incremental in nature. Like if you are doing this kind of salting and let's say you are putting salt in front of the timestamp, this will become a random. Or sometimes we also do hashing of timestamp. So when you do hashing or salting technique, then it will not be like incremental in nature. And when it will not be incremental, then the data which will be written on the cluster will be written on multiple machines, and some data will be written here, some data will be written here, some data will be written here. So then your write performance will be very good, right? But at the same time, read performance will be impacted. But if you are having row key like this, then your write performance is getting impacted because all data is going in a single region server, but your read performance is very good in this case. So it's a trade-off. When we talk about row key design in HBase, you have to see this trade-off, write performance versus read performance. Yeah, so choosing row key is very important, because then only you can actually see like how the HBase cluster is going to perform when the data is ingested or data is read. Yeah, so please take this decision based on the use case. I am actually giving you another example. Let's say we have celebrity data. In case of celebrity data, let's say President Trump or any celebrity, so there we will find that number of tweets are very less, the writes are very less on the cluster, but reads are more. Like there are millions of followers and they are reading data from the Twitter. So when they are reading data, millions of followers, then reading should be fast in this case. Write performance, it does not matter much because you are writing very less. So in case of celebrity data, storing data for a particular celebrity makes sense because you are storing everything together. Reading will be very fast, but writing will be slow, but it does not impact much because writes are very less compared to reads. So hope this gives you high level picture. How does HBase look like, the architecture overall? There are many other things, but for the time being, I think we are good to move ahead and do some hands-on HBase.